I'm excited today to be joined by Sean, Chris, Amani, and Chinozo, who have eagerly decided to join us to share their insight and experience with you this afternoon. I will ask them to introduce themselves, and if we could start with Sean.
Thank you so much, Scott. Parents, families, greetings from College Hill. My name is Sean Thompson, and I'm the Director of First Year Experience in Houses here at Brown University. I use the he series as my pronouns, and I've been working in the Office of Residential Life with orientation, transition, and retention programs for the past 2 years. I started March 2020, right at the kickoff of the pandemic, and it has been a wild roller coaster ever since. I'm so happy to greet you, answer any of your questions, and introduce you to our first year experience programs for the incoming class of 2026.
Thank you, Sean. Chris?
Hey, it's so great to see everyone, or to know everyone's here, I guess I should say. My name is Chris Tangent. I'm the Assistant Director for First Year Experiences and Orientation here at Brown. I use the he series pronouns. A lot of my work encompasses the orientation program that your students will go through, as well as the first year experience, really connecting that orientation into the academic year. I've been at Brown since August, so almost 9 months, and I'm very, very excited for this summer and to see all of you on campus.
Thanks, Chris. Certainly appreciate you introducing yourself. Amani, would you be willing to go next?
Hi, my name is Imani McGregor. I am a senior concentrating in public health, and I am also in the program in liberal medical education, which is the 8-year baccalaureate MD program. I have been a residential peer leader and women's peer counselor for the last 3 years since my sophomore year, working in the first year dorms. And I guess that's about it. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, too.
Thank you very much, Amani. Chinozo, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Chinozo. I'm a sophomore here at Brown. I'm currently studying biochemistry and an independent concentration. I'm still trying to get approved. I'm class of 2024, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Thank you very much. As we go ahead, we're going to jump right into the webinar. I am going to ask if we could start with Chris to do an overview of the first year experience for us.
Absolutely. Super excited to be here. Super excited to share a little bit about the first year experience. So with orientation being moving on the 31st of August, we have programs going on from the 7 days following. So that evening we'll be kicking off with an ice cream social, and we'll have a series of programs that we structure out throughout those 7 days for students to get to know their peers, get to understand the open curriculum and what academics looks like here at Brown, give them an opportunity to make connections with both faculty and staff, and have fun along the way. We have events every single night honoring some of the traditions that Brown students have known to love. And we have a couple of spins on some really, I think, different ways of interacting and getting to know each other. As students experience their first year experience here with orientation, they'll be paired up with a Bruno leader, which is an orientation-based student leader. They'll be paired up with their Micklejohn, which is an academic peer and counselor in that regard. And additionally, they'll also be connecting with their community coordinators, who will be students who are living in the residence halls, able to advocate, help them go through their residential experience, and really support them in their journey in their first year at Brown. All of these unique student leader positions really act as peer mentors and showcase different ways to get involved on campus. And that's what we have, just like a taste of the entire schedule that we have for your student coming in this summer.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris. Sean, would you mind talking a little bit about the overall first year experience and kind of the buildings and what that looks like?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So under the first year experience portfolio, we run orientation. We have about 11 buildings dedicated to our first year students. That ranges over the North Campus and South Campus, affectionately called Pembroke Campus and Keeney Quad. In those buildings, we have about 60 community coordinators, like Chris was talking about previously, and 4 area coordinators. So these are professional live-on staff members. And in tandem with the community coordinators, are supposed to provide health and well-being referrals, provide an inclusive community for our students, and also offer growth and development opportunities for our students. Here at Brown, we do have a 6-semester residency requirement, so we do want to focus on every single year of their collegiate career, providing them the best transition and the best support that they need to do to get to graduation. In the first year experience, we have a neighborhood model. So what that really means is that in each building, each floor is dedicated to a neighborhood. That neighborhood can range between 30 to 35 first-year students, and each neighborhood has a community coordinator that will provide wellness checks, programs and events, referrals to other campus resources, and to really develop and engage their community within their floor, within their building, and within their campus. Our philosophy in the first year experience is to really house our students in double and triple occupancy so that we do maximize that community development and community engagement. So in our buildings, we have a variety of different types of communities. We have quiet housing, we have substance-free housing, we have gender-inclusive housing, and things of that nature. And all of our floors are mixed with gender. So students can offer or opt into a gender-inclusive floor or a gender specific program, and that will be taken into account in our housing questionnaire. So that's a little bit of the taste of the first year experience, but we'll talk a little bit more during the webinar about specifics and things of that nature.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate you giving that overview of the first year experience. Chris, I'd love to come back. You certainly were talking about orientation. I'd love to dig a little bit deeper. And what is planned to help incoming students transition successfully to Brown? If you could give that insight.
Yeah, so I think when we look at like what our schedule is, we really tried to structure it in a way that those first couple of days on campus, students are getting to know their peers and they're getting to know those resources that they might immediately need, right? How are we tackling homesickness? How are we having dialogues on what their hopes and dreams are? We have 80 Bruno leaders on this campus that are immediately paired with small groups of your students. And that 80 doesn't mean that your student only gets to know one. It means that they get the opportunity to really connect with over 80 different peer leaders. And that's just with our program. Like I said before, we also have that Meiklejohn program where there's several student leaders that also can provide that, I think, academic background in mentoring. The community coordinators, I know we have 2 on our call right now who do an excellent job with just connecting with those students on a regular basis. And we want to make sure that just even on those first days, we know that move-in is overwhelming. We know that like saying goodbye can be a lot. We want to make sure that they have people that they can talk to on this campus that say, hey, we know what you're going through. We've experienced it. We're here to support. We're here to embrace. Additionally, we want to make sure on that second day that they're on campus, that they're getting some academic structures in place. One of the biggest things our students have stressed about in the past was what classes look like, what academics look like. And Sean and I looked at that when we came in to be new professionals here at Brown, and we said, okay, well, we want to make sure that we address that early. So we're hearing that feedback from students and making sure that that's a priority in our process. Additionally, like I said, there's a lot of fun here. We have things, we have a midnight organ concert that our students go to annually. That's a pretty fun time honored tradition. We have pep rallies on campus. We're having sponsored events where they can get to know campus life and student government as well. And we have several different dances and fun things. We're actually taking over a Target. So if you're wondering if there's opportunities for you to go shopping with your students, certainly there are, but we're also giving them the opportunity to kind of head over there and buy what they need for their rooms as well. So we're really setting up those structures in place. And I want to say too, you know, talking about structures for your students, we do have a very strong security presence on our campus. And what I mean by that is we take that safety seriously for your students. So we have blue lights around campus that are set up for students to contact emergency services if they need it. Our Department of Public Safety is open 24/7, 365 days a year. And even at first floor meetings, when your students are just getting to know their community coordinator and who's around them, we go through making sure that they know the phone number for Department of Public Safety. Even just like as a side note, at your student's disposal on their ID, we have a list of contacts that are really important for them to call on campus. So if they need to talk to someone for counseling and psychological support, they have that phone number. If they need someone to advocate or help advocate for them because they've gone through something they want to talk with someone through, we have those phone numbers available. There is a resource at your student's disposal everywhere around campus, and that starts in the residence hall and it really ends, on their graduation day.
Thanks, Chris. A couple of questions. You know, you talk about this really wonderful orientation program, and I'm curious if you could take us through on that 31st after parents drop off, what's going on that night? And then how do we end orientation on September 6th? What does that bookend look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So once students have moved in, once they've gotten their time, so you'll receive your time and what move-in looks like. Once you've settled, once you've had your fun, the parents, we have some awesome opportunities for you to engage with each other. And we have some parent opportunities that Mikkel St. Germain will be able to reach out with you on, but that should be happening around 6 p.m. that evening for a nice family social. But we really take our students and we try and get them to meet their community, like I said. So that evening we have a huge ice cream social where every single first year student shows up. It's enormous. When we call it an ice cream social, I think it's more like an ice cream dance because students are really having a great time. We have DJs set up, we have lighting out there. I know 2 of our student leaders who are here on this panel just laughed at that because I'm sure they have some fond memories as well of what their ice cream social looked like. And we hold on to that tradition because who doesn't love ice cream? Who doesn't love socializing? How do we bring students together? And then just on the other end of that, we end our final day of orientation with convocation. And if you're unfamiliar with Brown, there's a tradition where our students walk through the front gates on our quiet green, and the only time that students will walk through those gates again is when they leave the institution. And so we as a community really rally around that moment. It's a really special time. It's very emotional for me. I get excited every time I've seen it because our students will walk through, and I don't think they understand the momentous occasion that they're about to experience, but at the end of their journey, those students really think about what that transition has been like and what that memory has been like. So convocation is a really a large program that the institution really rallies around, and it's pretty exciting.
Wonderful. I appreciate you providing that bookmark for us. For those who might be joining us a little bit late, there's a couple of names that have been thrown out. I'm wondering if we could just repeat quickly so that parents and family members really understand what those positions are. You mentioned Bruno leaders, Mikkel Johns, and community coordinators. Would you be willing to take a second just to talk about the responsibilities of those positions?
Yeah, absolutely. So our Bruno leaders are really our incoming student specialists. They work with your students to help them I guess ask the questions that they don't know what to ask. They help them come into conversations about what their hopes and dreams are here on campus, have dialogues about like what safety means, like what accepting means, like what it means to be a part of this community. And so the Bruno leaders are really here for that beginning experience, and they'll essentially be kind of their guide into Brown. I think that the Bruno leader tends to be, I feel like a lifelong thing where students always will see their Bruno leader on campus and say, oh my gosh, you were my Bruno leader. And that's like a really cool connection. Additionally to that, we have the Mikkeljohn leader, which is really an academic specialist, those students who are able to help your student register for classes, understand the open curriculum, and they stay with them throughout the year as well. And they have a really cool relationship that I really feel like is unique to Brown. I've worked at several institutions and I've never seen the kind of closeness that we see between the Mikkeljohn leaders and the incoming class. And then lastly are those community coordinators. So residential life is really committing to creating a developmental student leader opportunity in our residential halls. And so those community coordinators are students who are living in the residence halls that can provide guidance, can provide programming, and provide expectations of what it means to live on campus. They really act as the student ambassador to residential life in a lot of ways, and the bridge that I think connects your students' experience to our department, whether that be a concern that they're having, a roommate conversation that needs to happen, or just wanting to engage more in the community. The community coordinator, I think, really is responsible for it, does an excellent job of creating that bridge.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to lead us through those three really important positions. Amani, I would love to toss to you our next question. When you think about what essential students should bring, or are there places to shop, would you be willing to share a little bit of your insight?
Yeah, of course. So in Seekonk, there's many places around in the area, especially in Seekonk, Massachusetts, which is about 10 to 15 minutes from Providence, and then Attleboro, which is about 20 minutes from Providence. And they're in opposite directions, but both of them have a Walmart, there's a Target, there's Michael's, Staples, clothing stores too, Old Navy, I believe Attleboro has one. And you can get most of the dorm items that you'll need there. I actually do recommend maybe ordering some to get them like shipped once you have. I recommend bringing your clothes, buying bedding when you arrive, and then potentially shipping, because once move-in happens, the store's empty. So I would be very aware of that, and so usually every time I moved in, the only thing that I would be purchasing from the stores once I surpassed my freshman year was like body wash, towels, just stuff that, I'm going to be using on a regular day-to-day basis that ends up getting used all the way. But I tended to reuse the bedding that I had since my first year, just washing it. I have about 3 bedding sheets that I rotate through. And what was the second part of that question?
Yeah, just, I think you started to touch on it in thinking about stores that are available in, Attleboro and Seekonk. But what about, is there close proximity to even other clothing stores, malls or anything that are within walking distance of campus?
Yes, of course. Actually, there's Providence Place Mall, and I actually believe Providence Place Mall is like has the largest square footage mall, either in the Northeast, I believe. But it's a really nice mall. There's a movie theater, there's a Dave and Buster's, there's tons of clothing stores and shoe stores. So if you ever need to get there, it could be about a 10-minute campus, and it's fairly simple to get there. You could also drive if needed, but yeah, it's really accessible. There's elevators, there's a CVS as well. And then also on Thayer Street, where Brown is like centered around, I suppose, there's also a CVS that's nearby.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing those pieces, especially the Thayer Street and some of the smaller items that might be needed. Are you able to share kind of, for those students that don't have a car, of how they might be able to access? I know that there's the Rhode Island buses that are there. Is that something that is accessible to students?
Very accessible. So your Brown ID, when your student will get a Brown ID, it actually gets them free bus passes. And so the RIPTA, it's pretty easy to use with Google Maps just to find the bus that you need to take. There's a stop on Thayer Street that goes to East Providence, and then one that goes downtown. So the RIPTA is pretty easy to get around. Zipcar, if you have a driver's license, actually does a $15 per year college student discount. So if you can drive, I would recommend Zipcar as a nice option because it is only $15 per year. And they're located all around campus.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that the RIPTA piece is a really nice benefit. I mean, it includes anywhere in Rhode Island. So even if you want to shoot down to Newport for the day to explore, that is one of their smaller villages in the area. That's great. Chris, coming back a little bit, as parents, they might be wondering, what are the important dates we need to know about, right? What is coming back, whether we're booking flights, whether we're thinking about time off of work and driving? What are those important dates that families need to know to prepare for the start of the fall semester?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with early June 3rd is when pre-orientation applications go live. Those are programs that happen 4 to 5 days prior to orientation, such as TWTP is one that I think a lot of folks hear about, or Bonner, either academic or student focused, that students can apply for. Not all students we recognize are going to be doing pre-orientation programs. They do have a limited amount of slots, but those programs typically would move onto campus around August 26th or 27th. Now, student athletes move in a bit earlier than that, typically around the middle of August. And in addition to that, first year general move-in, so any students not participating in athletics or pre-orientation, move-in is August 31st. You'll receive a time slot that will let you know when to drop off belongings. Just know that, parents are encouraged to stay that day on that 31st after they move their belongings in. That time slot is really for you to get stuff out of the car. We'll have a whole series of movers who will help you take those things and move them to your room. So typically, like last year, we had parents who would look around and their things would be gone and their student would already be off to their room, and we'd direct them to a parking lot and then they'd come back and meet their student. And then, like I said before, orientation goes from August 31st all the way to Tuesday, September 6th, where we have a series of programs ready for them.
Great, thank you. Sean, when you did that kind of overview of the first year experience, you talked about some of the housing options that are available for first year students. I'd like, again, would love to come back to that. Some families might have joined us after that was gone over. And so I'm curious if you could dig us a little bit deeper into what housing options are available for first year students.
Absolutely. And I could talk a little bit about the housing questionnaire as well, if it would be helpful too.
That would be great.
Yeah, the housing questionnaire will be launched in our site approximately early June, around June 3rd. And that housing questionnaire is an opportunity for students to indicate their lifestyle choices, their preference in types of roommates that they would like to live with, and now parents and families. Let's be honest, okay? Let's be transparent. We know that you're hovering over their shoulders trying to select for them about what student they want to be. But this housing questionnaire is really to collect the students who they are right now, because we don't want any discrepancies when we do the matching over the summer. So when the students fill out the housing questionnaire, they'll be matched with a student that has, we use an algorithm to match their inputs. And then that's how we determine housing assignments and housing roommates. After that's being done, then we'll be able to really send out housing assignments into mid-July, early August. And we were talking about our housing portfolio for the first years. Like I said before, we have 11 buildings that span across the North Campus and the South Campus. And your students will be housed in either a double or a triple occupancy room. And that is really to ensure and to encourage community development and community engagement. We do have singles that are available only for special accommodations students, and that assignment and that process will start as well as our housing questionnaire process. All of our buildings have a hallway format. We have lounges. We have specific kitchens for some of the lounges. We have quiet areas, and we have different communities ranging from quiet to gender inclusive housing to substance-free housing that you can all indicate in the housing questionnaire portal. We really do think that having a roommate is just a part of life, it's a walk of life. That's where you develop really great conflict resolution skills, learn how to be respectful of other people's walks of lives, their cultures, their customs, and we really leverage and lean into our students to develop that. A part of that process, we also give them the tool of having a roommate agreement. And that roommate agreement really talks and mirrors from that housing questionnaire what they've indicated and what the agreement that they'll have for the rest of the semester. When should they have guests over? How early or how late will you be staying in or going out? Do you like to eat in the room, or would you like to go to our residence hall, up to our to the Sharp refectory, things like that. And then once these sometimes conflicts arise and those roommate agreements are broken or bent a little bit, that's where we employ our residential peer leaders or our community coordinators. Our community coordinators are trained to have these kind of discussions to mitigate some of the discrepancies between the housing agreement and the roommate agreement. We talk it through, we get everybody's side of the story. And if those situations can't be mitigated by the community coordinator, then we'll take it up to the area coordinator. The area coordinator, which I said was that live-in professional, will help have those kind of conversations with our students to make sure that they are respecting each other, they're respecting their agreement and things of that nature. And then after that, hopefully that'll be taken care of. But pretty much, we really love our first year housing. It's really great, and it's really conducive to building a community on our campus, and we look forward to having your students join us.
Thanks, Sean. I'm curious, for students who are looking for amenities, and this might have been mentioned, but if they want a small study space, if they want to access kitchens or laundry facilities, where does it typically happen?
So all of our buildings do have all those amenities. We have laundries that are for use for all of our students. There are lounges on every floor, some larger than others. And I think a lot of the students like to take advantage of the smaller lounges for study space and study groups and things of that nature. Some of our lounges have kitchens, so they are available for with a refrigerator, a stove, a sink, things of that nature, like a kitchenette. But all of our first year students are required to have a meal plan their first year on campus as well. So it'll help with the meals. They get about 20 meals a week with some flex points that they can use at other eateries or other establishments on campus. And they're pretty flexible. And I think our students really enjoy the flexibility of going from I think we have about 4 dining halls on campus at most, with other stores that they can access their flex points with.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Chinoza, I'd love to ask the next question of you. What is it like to live with other students? What has your insight grown as, as a current residential peer leader, as a future community coordinator, and just your own experience talking with friends? What is that experience like to live with students?
Yeah, that's a great question because I came in during COVID. So like I'm class of 24. I'm still getting used to real life school.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a community my first year because it was COVID and because Brown put a lot of restrictions, which was really good to like make sure people don't get COVID as much. So my second year, I'm in RPL at Keeney, which is one of the freshman dorms, one of the popular ones too. And it's been really fun. I have a couple students who I'm their RPL and we hang out. We're even going for escape night, escape room. I've never done one of those. So we're going for that very soon. It's just really nice being around people with different backgrounds and different perspectives and just to talk and hang out. Like I really enjoy it. I wouldn't change this. Like I like the community living here at Brown.
Great. It really sounds like, listening to you, that it provides that foundation by which students then can succeed and build peer groups and clubs and organizations and in classrooms.
Yeah.
I appreciate that perspective. Chris, would love to come back to you. Do the residence halls staff organize trips or programs that occur at outings, whether that's to Boston, New York City, Providence? What does that look like for residential life?
Yeah, I do want to shamelessly plug that orientation will be bringing students to Target to purchase supplies. I know I said that earlier, but I just want to continue to plug that because, like we said, sometimes when folks get to their rooms, they want to know like what furniture to bring or what furniture not to bring. And I think those are really good opportunities to kind of like scope out what your space looks like. That being said, yes, so your community coordinator has program funding every single semester. And part of that is for programming within the residence halls, and part of that is programming for bringing students off campus to certain places, either in Providence or in the New England area. I don't think we have the money to go to Florida necessarily in a semester, but we can always wish, right? But there are opportunities to program and for students to program. And I think what my biggest thing, and I know we've talked about advocacy before, is have your student advocate if they want to go somewhere. We have the funding, we have the programming, and we want to make sure that what our student leaders are programming are things that your students want to attend, right? So if it rarely happens, but if you ever have your student call you on the phone and say that they're bored, tell them to go to their CC and ask for a program. Like tell them to go to the RISD Museum as a class trip or something like that, because we will make those opportunities and avenues happen. We just want to make sure that what we're doing is representing what your student wants to do. So yes, the long short of that answer is we do have opportunities to travel around a bit.
Chris, we also want to talk about our winter and spring break programming as well, because there are some students that decide to stay on campus and not to return to their home communities over the break process. So the Office of Residential Life has created a couple of listservs for our students to get involved with. So we'll make sure that those students that are staying with us in residence over those 2 breaks are invited to a listserv so that they can connect with each other. We also offer students, if they want to create any programming over those breaks, to do so, and we have funding for them. So they'll, create other movie nights, trips to Providence Place Mall and things like that, so that they can stay engaged. Especially around winter, we have a really popular series of taking them down to Kennedy Plaza and doing some ice skating there. And then we really, really, really want to make sure that our students are, really taking advantage of Providence during these breaks, because the city gets a little quiet, but there's a heart here that they can take advantage of, and our staff is here to support them along the way. So we do the listservs, we do a trip or two during the breaks, and then we have them connected on that listserv so they can know who else is on campus as well.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you asking that. You touched on the fact early on about the number of semesters that are required for students to live on campus.
Yeah.
And I'm curious that if we could break down what that number is and how that correlates to particular class year.
Absolutely. So we have a 6-semester residency requirement for all of our students. So our first years will live in our residence, and it goes from like first year to your junior year, pretty much when it lays out. We think that we'll be able to provide, especially with the new re-envisioning and reconfiguration of the residential life department, we want specific focuses on each class year. So my work and my purview really follows the first year students from orientation as they transition into their second year. And then when the second year, they have two paths to take, really, to be an upper division student and not affiliated with a program, theme, or Greek houses that we have on campus. And Scott on the call is our director of upper division. So he will take care of our sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are not affiliated with any of our specialty programming or specialty housing. And then we have another director, Terrence Sanders, who's in charge of Greek programming, theme programming, and program house opportunities on campus. Those specific communities need an application, and then they have an abundant program process of curriculum events throughout the year tailored to specific passions or interests, such as Latin House, Technology House, and we have about 3 or 4 Greek programs on campus, and then we have some affiliations that we support as well. So we have a lot of robust programming throughout all 4 years when you're in residence on campus with us. And that's how our kind of department is structured in that way.
Wonderful. Thank you for making that clarity.
Yeah.
Sean, I'd like to stay with you if I could. As a parent, I have heard some concerns about the lottery for upper class students. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Scott, it didn't go as planned. We recognize that, and we understand the impact that it had on our students. So there were a lot of challenging circumstances that got us to this point, and I'm able to name a few that we're in constant contact and taking great account of all these processes that are going on. Our office works with a ton of other university offices to provide a robust and accurate array of housing for our students. So we work with Study Away program. We work with our student accommodations process. We work with the Dean of the College for medical leaves. We work with our religious accommodations. A lot of these processes overlap with each other, which kind of brought us to this moment. Coming back from COVID, we had to really look at all of our processes and procedures and make sure that it's really servicing our students and servicing the offices that have timelines, applications, things that need to be coordinated. And this year, we just needed to have more oversight over it. So right now, we're working on providing a high touch, individualized process for our students that were affected by the housing lottery and making sure that they have housing for the fall semester. But, we've really taken into account that process, and we're taking in feedback to really reinvigorate and reimagine what that process looks like for our students this upcoming year as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I would love to have, the next question, if we could, be answered by our staff folks. And that's kind of great. We arrive on August 31st as families. When is kind of a good time to say goodbye? When do we allow our students to go on and connect with others versus when do we spend that time with them? And so I'd really be curious from a student perspective, what advice do you have?
Yeah, I can be maybe slightly helpful on this. So I did go to boarding school, so my parents were very used to it. And I was also under student accessibility my first year because I had a major hip surgery. So I was on crutches when I entered Brown. Had I not been, I believe my father would have just dropped me off. But he did stick around to help me move in. I've seen parents usually just help the kid move in and get settled, like set up their room. And then that's usually about the time that they depart. After my first year, I came here on my own. I moved in on my own. I can probably toss it to Chinazo if you have any other advice.
So my freshman year, so I have a very interesting story. I came in from Nigeria when I came in January. So like my parents are Nigerian. So they couldn't help me move in. So I moved in myself. And I'm a twin. And my twin sister actually moved in with me. Apologies. So I I moved in myself without my parents, but I moved in with my twin sister. And sophomore year, also very interesting. My year, we didn't really get a summer. And just because I'm in RPL, I had to come back early. So I actually moved out and in on the same day. Like I moved out of my freshman dorm and then moved into my sophomore, like Keeney, and then went on my holiday and came back for my job.
Great. I appreciate you sharing that student perspective for both of you. Chris, and Sean, from a professional perspective who have been working with students for many, many years, is there a way that kind of you offer some advice here to parents who are dropping maybe their students off for the first time, or for that parent that's dropping off the third student for the first time?
I like to call it Operation Love and Shove. So move-in is such dynamic and could be exciting, could be overwhelming in that moment. We at the university really want to create and envision operational excellence so that you can focus on saying see you later to your student, loving them in the moment and shoving them out the car, not moving obviously, but shoving them out the car and getting them ready for the orientation program that's going to acclimate them to campus. Our director of program, our director of parent and family engagement, Mikkel St. Germain, is creating a parent orientation those first 2 days that will get you acclimated to our resources so you know what questions to ask your student if they are having some challenges finding a sense of belonging on campus. We also want to talk about how do you create this new relationship that you have. We are totally empathetic and understanding of what it took for you to get your student to Brown. And we want to honor that walk of life and we want to honor those experiences, but also guide you in a way to establish a new relationship with them, with your young adult, with your emerging adult, right? So we have some tips and tricks. The first 6 months are really high touch for us. We really want to focus on them coming from their home environment and getting acclimated to College Hill, to getting acclimated to Providence. So one, you might not hear from them because they are, too busy making friends, going to class, going to shopping period, finding our student clubs and organizations, or they're missing home, they're homesick, right? And they might be calling you every single day. They might be calling you every single week. But we think there's a healthy balance where you set up a schedule with them, check in with them maybe every other day, maybe every week, to ensure that they are really taking advantage of the support and resources that we have on campus. I like to say that sometimes they don't know what you know that we know, but I think working with Mikkel, you'll get a better understanding of what Brown offers and understands, and then you can have those conversations with your student about, hey, did you connect with your community coordinator? Oh my God, maybe your Meiklejohn has a really great idea about doing an office hour with faculty and staff on campus. Or did you reach out to your Bruno leader about how to get to the Sharp Refectory, or the VDub as we affectionately call it? There are tons of support networks on campus, and our job is to educate you and our students and empower our students to make those decisions for themselves.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chinazo, I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how do we access health facilities? And so students who might need physical or emotional mental health support, can that happen on campus? And what is that like from a student perspective?
Yeah, so in terms of physical, if you have anything wrong with you, like say you cut your finger or something, you can go to the health and wellness. They're currently at health and wellness building. I remember I needed a TB shot for volunteer work I was doing, and I went there. And in terms of mental health, I've known Brown to be very supportive because I don't call at regular hours. I call very late at night, and there's always someone to answer the phone. I've called CAPS twice now because when I first came to Brown, I was very, very homesick. Like I really wanted to go back home. And because it was COVID too, I felt very isolated. So I just wanted to go back home, and they were really supportive. Like, this is my Brown ID, and like you can see at the back there's a phone number for CAPS, so you just call them and like they answer. Sometimes they tell you to come in the next day. You could schedule to meet up with them, and sometimes they can be able to make accommodations for you if they see that you need accommodations in your academics or something like that. So.
I appreciate you sharing that. For families who might not be familiar, and we all do it, that acronym, you mentioned CAPS twice. What does that stand for?
It's counseling and psychological services. So it's as the name implies. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing that. Chris, I would love to come back to you. So how can we as parents encourage our students to become self-advocates and tap into existing resources? Where are the best places to find that information for families and parents so that they can better direct their students behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think it comes in a couple of areas. I know Sean made a really excellent suggestion, and I would echo this. In my time working with first year students and families, that first 6 weeks especially is really an adjustment period. So setting up a regularly scheduled time to like have a phone call or a conversation and kind of keeping to it, right? I know, for instance, when I went to college, I could not wait to get away. And then some of my best friends were like really, really ready to like go back home and wanted to speak on the phone with their parents regularly. And so for me, it was finding time because I was so, I guess, overwhelmed with how many options and choices I had for really the first time, to remember to call home, to remember to connect with my parents. My mom was like, ready. Like my mom told me later on that she was really sad that I didn't call her in those first couple of weeks, and I didn't even think about it because I had so much going on, right? And I think that that's kind of the first year experiences. We give them so many options and avenues, and sometimes like you're in their lives to help guide them, and sometimes those phone calls and conversations are really helpful. So coming up with a phone call time or coming up with a scheduled time to FaceTime or connect, I think is really important. But in terms of like what resources exist, I can't stress enough. We've talked about the community coordinator position, our live on professionals as area coordinators, those two housing specialists. I'd really, really advocate, ask your student, have they connected with their CC on it, or have they talked to their AC on it? I think that in residential life, we tend to really be great at connecting folks to other departments, even if it's not an area that we specialize in. We have no problem walking your student over it or making the phone call if they're in the room, or making sure that we can just give them whatever email address we can provide. Our websites have a lot of information, but sometimes that information can be information overload. So coming to those experts on campus, talking to those folks, and for you all as parents, recognizing that McKell St. Germain and families.brown.edu really offer a lot of resources, especially as we go into the summer. McKell is such an excellent resource, has helped me in my first year understanding this institution, and I know that she will really make herself available to help you all as well. So take advantage of those opportunities for sure. But I would say start with asking your student, who have they talked to, right? Because I think sometimes our students will come to their parents and say, oh man, I'm having this problem. And the parents would be like, okay, who do I call, right? But one of those big life skills that we really want to emphasize for our students is getting them in the door, getting their foot in the door. Because sometimes as a professional in residential life, I can have a different conversation with a student based on some of the privacy policies that we have, based on some of the details that I'm eligible to share with students that I might not be eligible to share with parents. So making sure that that student is the one that puts their foot in the door and says, hey, I need help, I need support. But we also have those pillars of the community always available, always around, checking in on them too. So it's not just a one-way street.
Great, thank you. would love to, tease out, and I say this, you're hearing a little catch in my voice. What is a typical day for a Brown student? And that catch that you're hearing my voice is around typical. I think having been here for a while, it's very, unique for each student. But Amani and Chinoza, could you talk a little bit about what you see as typical points throughout the day for students?
Yeah. So classes start at 9, but you don't have to start at 9 a.m. It depends on when your classes start. I personally start at 9 a.m. because I need to wake up in order to like be productive throughout the day. Usually classes run from about 9 a.m. to maybe I'd say like 5:30, 6. Sometimes there are evening classes, but I think those are very rare for first years. Depending on extracurriculars that you want, those usually start around 7. Throughout the day, there are a lot of different spaces to study on campus. Like for me, currently, I am in the Sarah Doyle Center for Women and Gender, where I work. There's also the Brown Center for Students of Color. There is the LGBTQ Center, which is being built right next door, actually. And all the libraries are available from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. So there's a lot of freedom throughout the day, I guess, in what you want to do. People spend that time either studying, hanging out with other people during the day, going to class. And then at night, there are extracurriculars going on, get food, or continue to study, I suppose, as well. But there are a lot of events that happen on campus as well. And so I also work at the front desk of the campus center at Brown. And so I work there at nights, but I'd hang up all the posters for the weeks that people post. So there's always something to do if you don't know what to do. And additionally, I'd encourage your students to go to your RPL if you would like programming, because as someone who's been in RPL for 3 years, we do run out of ideas, and we're students too. So if there is something you want, for instance, my residents told me they just wanted cupcakes. So I made a program and bought 50 cupcakes for them because they said that. And we just like checked in and hung out, and they got to ask me my questions. And I was able to answer them about school, jobs, everything like that. But yeah, I guess that would be a typical day. For me, I park in one spot, so I'll probably be here until around 6 or 7. But that's about it.
Thank you.
For me, like no 2 days are typically the same. Because so I don't really have a typical day. It just depends. Like I would say these past couple days, it's been more of I like to study in the morning, early in the morning. So I wake up maybe 6 and then I study through the morning, and then I typically start classes 11 a.m. and then like I eat breakfast before class, go to class and hang out with friends typically during the day or late at night. So either during the day or late at night, and then between that, I'd go to the Rock. The Rock is my favorite library. But some people like the Sci-Li. A bunch of my friends like the Sci-Li, but I typically go to the Rock.
Great, thank you. Our last question that we had collected from before, and then we'll get quickly into some of the questions that were submitted. Sean, could you talk a little bit about the special accommodations for housing, right? If I'm a student and I need to submit for accommodation requests, what is that? Where do I go for that?
Absolutely. So that process will be released at the same time as our housing questionnaire process. So look for emails from our office or the dean of the college's office around June 3rd. We do host a weekly email series every Friday. We send our first year students an email just talking about some tasks they need to complete before they arrive on College Hill, some things to get to for acclimation. We released a pre-orientation application, but more specifically, we released the special accommodations process. So that comes in tandem with the housing questionnaire. So you'll be able to submit your housing preferences and your housing accommodations that you need. Our SAS office, the Student Accommodation Support Office, works with us so that we will be able to accommodate most, if not all, of the accommodations that we can have on our campus. And then you'll get that announcement or that assignment in the mid-July, early August timeline, so that you can prepare for your arrival to campus in the fall.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to turn to the questions that were submitted on the chat, and I will just call out the individual I think might have the easiest information on that question. Sean, are the dining halls open during winter break?
Yes, they are. I believe they have shortened hours. So some of the dining halls are open. I think 1 or 2 are open. We usually have about 4 or 5, but they're open for special programming and if you're staying on campus. And if not, we have housing or meal vouchers for students if they apply to our specific offices if they're staying over break.
Great, thank you. I'm curious, and this can be for Chris or Sean, are each of the rooms supplied with a mini micro fridge, refrigerator unit? And if not, where do we order those?
We do have miniature fridges available through Residential Life. We do have a small supply of them. So students who are interested and eligible as they arrive can ask our key office for that accommodation, and we can see what we can do about that. In terms of microwaves, I don't believe that we have those readily available on campus, but we do have that trip to Target in the first week.
So, sorry. I don't know if facilities is removing them, but as of right now, most rooms have a mini fridge and a microwave like combo. And I believe that was also because of the pandemic, because most of the food items were grab and go. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be removed, but right now there is. And also at Walmart, you can get them for like the one with a freezer and fridge combination is about like 120, and then the regular size mini fridge is about 90, and they're at Walmart.
Great. Earlier, again, it's in here, but the housing questionnaire, when would that go out? And the date was shared that it would go out into June. Sean, can a first-year student request a roommate? And this parent feels like the question is, will there be a lot of forced triples? And so could you talk a little bit about what forced actually means?
Right, so we don't use forced. Forced is a term that we don't have on campus. There are buildings in our portfolio for the first year that are already tripled or will be doubled. So we have a small number of triples. There are specific buildings around campus that we do triple. We will have that inventory ready and available over the summer so that your students will know how many roommates they'll be having over for the fall semester. And what was the first part of that question, Scott?
Just can they request a roommate?
Oh, yeah, we get that often. No, unfortunately not. We do believe at Brown and for the first year experience that we wanted to expand and really develop your network of students, so you're not able to request a roommate. I remember I requested a roommate for my first year, and it was pretty bad. And I'll say this because I came in with my best friend, and I wanted to live with my best friend. And guess what? We stayed in the room the whole entire time. I didn't make any friends whatsoever. I didn't explore campus. I didn't know what else was going on because I had my comfort zone right then and there. So why would I need to leave the room? So at Brown, we really do believe that you have the agency and the autonomy to explore, create new groups of friends, maybe create new study groups, create new student clubs and organization groups on campus, and really develop that network instead of just staying into your room and staying to this close unit that you've developed. So unfortunately, but fortunately, we do not honor requests for roommates.
Great, thank you. This question really is, and we answered this, but it's bearing repeating again. Can students live off campus for their first and second year?
No, there's no exception for letting students off campus their first or their second year.
Okay. Sean, would you be able to talk a little bit about what the difference is between our current RPL and the community coordinator position?
Absolutely. So our RPLs in the past have really only focused on community development and community building. So they would have smaller groups of their floors where they would talk about some of the programs and events like Imani was talking about before, like what do you want to see in your residence hall? And then the RPL would really execute on it. So if you wanted cupcakes, Imani would create a program, not just deliver the cupcakes, but have like a cupcake decorating contest so you can come and enjoy the company of your friends and your residents on campus. The community coordinator position is a slightly elevated position. It is for upper division students, but we've layered in more opportunities for the students to connect with the community coordinator. So they're really working on 4 real main facets: health and well-being, inclusive community, growth and development, and operational excellence. So what that means is that they're spending more times in the residence halls, approximately 15 to 16 hours a week, developing programs, really monitoring and doing community walkthroughs, making sure that our facilities are up to date and on par with what the students need, and really has an understanding of their community inside and out. So thinking about a micro level, connecting one-to-one to our residents, and a macro level, connecting one to our building of residents. And they're all supported by our area coordinators. And we have weekly meetings, semesterly trainings where they are equipped to handle a lot of the situations that happen in our residence halls.
All right, we are unfortunately at the 1 o'clock time boundary. There are a lot of questions that we weren't able to get to, but we want to thank you for joining us today. This posting will be put out there on the Family and Parent Program website in the next 3 to 5 days. With that, we hope that you will join us for future programs as well. Thank you and have a great day.